Oh boy, you guys are in for a treat today. The reason for that, I think you have already kind of maybe figured out by stop my camera a little bit. Yeah, maybe you figured out by the title of this video. You guys are in for a treat, right? And this is, I know what you guys are thinking. Eddie is going to be saying something, clickbaity in the first couple seconds of this video, and then going into some kind of boring stuff. Which, by the way, I I can probably understand the situation that you are in right now because you're probably been, betrayed. You're probably been lied to. You're probably been over promised and underdeveloped, time after time after time. But if you're watching this video if you're watching this channel for a long time, which by the way, if you're a first viewer, doesn't matter. This video is conducive to, building fitness, like making fitness simple again and giving you the simplest kind of advice that you could actually follow only after you implement it, right? Like if this is going to be some kind of information that you just, lock into your brain, it's going to be just like any advice that you come across in the internet and you still feel confused, right? So my advice is to basically get the advice, implement on it, dude. Like advice, implementation. If you do it, you will see results. Doesn't matter what kind of advice is that. So yeah, like I get it. What you're thinking. You're thinking that okay, newbie gains is a part that you only get where whilst you're a beginner, right? And I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree. It is. It is some kind of gains. Some gains like newbie gains is something that you experience when you are a beginner in the gym because your body was at a dormant stage when you hit muscles. Like when you hit weight, right? Your nutrition isn't point. Your diet isn't point. You get gains like this, like the graph, like if this is the time graph and this is the muscle graph, your basically muscle graph, time graph, yeah, if this is the muscle graph, if this is the time graph, then your muscle building graph looks something like this. It's an exponential curve, like the time that you spend amount of gym and the amount of muscle that you gain from the amount of time that you spend at the gym is like ridiculous. You spend so little time on the gym, yet you get so much gains. That's what's basically newbie gains. Newbie gains is like, the kind of gains that you get, when you're a beginner, right? And I know you're skeptical. You're thinking that, okay, this is something that you get as a beginner, right? But I'm going to tell you, you don't know the information that I do because if you already knew it, and have implemented, you would have experienced newbie gains like I did when I was already training 3 years into my lifting career, right? I was already training for 3 years and I made these little changes that I'm going to talk about. And I've seen, growth spurts in my muscles 2 times. Once I was, once when I was, sorry, 3 times. Once when I was a beginner, obviously. Second, when I was like entering that intermediate level lifter stage. Third is when I was basically was an advanced lifter, right? So without any further ado, let's get into the video. The first point that you gotta keep in mind when it comes to getting newbie gains, and let's just forget the newbie gains, all of that stuff. You should be focusing on range of motion and intensity of your workout, right? Range of motion and intensity of your workout is because the reason for that is even after you have been training for a long time, chances are you could still improve your form. And this is coming from someone who is an advanced level lifter and still to this day corrected his form on incline dumbbell curls, right? So focus on intensity, right? Because if you have been training for a long time, if you have been training for 3 years, chances are you have become complacent, right? You're not really enjoying your workouts because, you just go to the gym, train for 2 hours, half-ass your workouts, and then you're thinking that, hey, bro, I was getting, really good results. Why the fuck I'm not getting right now? And I understand, it's because you were training intensely when you were a beginner. Now you're not. Okay. So that's the first point. Train intensely. And I don't need to, jibber jabber on this topic too much because you already know what I'm talking about. Train intense with good range of motion, right? And train intense, focus on the quality of sets rather than the quantity of sets, right? If you are someone who's intermediate or like an advanced level lifter, chances are you have good like mind muscle connection. So you have good quality sets in like the maybe like the first 2 sets, right? So you don't need to train like 3 or 4 sets, right? You don't need to have that. Okay, here's the thing. You need to shift your mentality. You need to have a paradigm shift, right? When you have 3 or 4 sets in your mind, you're thinking that, okay, I still and maybe you have done, like 2 sets, you're still thinking that, okay, I have like, 2 more sets left, right? I don't need to go as hard as possible in this set, right? That's a problem, because when you are thinking that I have 2 more sets left, I have 4 more sets left, I don't need to go as hard as possible in the first set or in the second set or in the third set because I have 1 more set left. That's a complacent mindset, right? That's something is keeping you from basically training as hard as possible in the 2 really good high quality sets that you could be doing, right? So focus on quality of sets rather than quantity of sets, right? And you need to be reminded more than you need to learn, because this video is basically reminding you that you were training intensely, like previously, but now you have gotten complacent, right? So focus on the quality of sets rather than the quantity of sets, and train as hard as possible. Train like an animal, trains really intense, right? Now, second point is something, like really, it might be tactical, I don't know, but it's something that I really enjoyed. Here's the thing. For a long time, you might have been following like a powerlifting program if you are into powerlifting. For a long time, you might be following some kind of hypertrophy training program if you are into like bodybuilding, whatever that is. But let me tell you, I was also focused on I'm focused too much on, I'm like into bodybuilding, building an aesthetic physique, building like a Greek god body, right? I was focused on that. What I'm about to tell you is that if you focus too much on the bodybuilding side of it, or if you focus too much on the powerlifting side of it, you are only training one kind of muscle fibers. Your body basically contains 2 kind of muscle fibers: fast twitch, slow twitch. Fast twitch are those muscle fibers responsible for those explosive workouts, right? Like explosive movements. Maybe you're going too many reps. That's exactly when your slow twitch muscle fibers come in handy, right? So you need to train both, right? And this is a shift that I made, and that's basically the top link in the description, which is basically my power building training program, right? What I do is I focus not only at the hypertrophy side of things, but I also focus on the strength side of things, right? So how I train is basically I focus on strength, like complete powerlifting training program. The first week, if you check the top link in the description, if you buy the training program, you'll be able to see that the first week is basically you conducive to training intensely when it comes to within that 5-ish range, right? In the compound lifts, and of course the isolation part, you can go above 10 or 12, no problem with that. But when it comes to the compound movement, the first week is basically power building training program, right? Where you train your fast twitch muscle fibers. The second week is more of an hypertrophy training program, still including some kind of strength training, not going above the 25 rep range, 30 rep range, all of that stuff. So yeah, that's how I train. First week is me just basically, like training for strength. Second week is basically me trying to train for hypertrophy. Then the third week is also for strength with some minor changes. The fourth week is for hypertrophy with minor changes. Once you buy the program, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So that's the change that I made that was able to give me like newbie gains, like gains even after I was training for 3 or 4 years. So that's also what you need to keep in mind. Chances are you're not training like that. I know for a fact you're not training like that. If you implement what I just told you, you will see results, right? And if you haven't understood it, just replay that portion, you will understand what I'm talking about. Last point is basically you need to eat more, you need to rest more, right? Because your body weight was a lot less when you were starting your fitness journey. Your body weight is a lot more right now. So you need to eat more because your body, demands more calories right now. Eat more, rest more, you will see newbie gains, keeping in mind the other 2 points that I just talked about at the beginning of this video. Eat more, train more, rest more, you will see, like Greek god-like results, both in terms of strength and, like hypertrophy. Yeah, peace.